People are afraid that you're going to say something that is quite offensive. And you may not see the power in that. You may not understand, why is this so offensive? Have you bothered to ask? I mean, truly ask. When have you ever said, hey, why does this bother people so much? Did you ever truly try to understand it? Okay, you guys, so I haven't been this excited for a podcast episode in quite some time, and I found myself asking the question, why? Why was I so excited for this specific podcast episode? Why was this one that I found to be so important to me specifically? Before, when I made podcast episodes, I did create them to resonate with myself, but also because I knew that people needed to hear them. But for some reason, this podcast episode, it resonates with me a lot more. This podcast episode, titled Detachment, Releasing It All. The release of it all. I'm going to talk about so many things that have been going on, and it has been affecting my life right now, have affected my life in the past, and I'm sure they're going to affect me in the future. Let's do the introduction. Welcome back to NTheRealestWay Podcast by Marqes Smith, where we talk about so many topics in the realest way. On this podcast episode, we're going to discuss the many reasons of why I am going to stay 10 toes down on who I am. And before I start, I know a lot of people, they don't care about cartoons and anime and whatever they want to categorize it in. But recently I rewatched The Legend of Korra, and you can just stick with me for a minute. This character has been through a lot of issues that were mostly out of her control. From just being alive, she had to deal with so many issues. And I found myself relating to her in a lot of ways. And on the last season of the show, she found herself going through so much suffering and having moments of feeling so defeated and having a visceral anger to a character because she related to them so much, yet they were the complete opposite in her mind of who she was. This person had ideologies that were affecting the world and harming the world. So she had such anger for them. But through her suffering and understanding herself a lot better, when she came to the understanding of her own suffering, she gained grace and compassion for somebody who, in their own way, had the intentions of helping people too. You know, it was just in their way, and it wasn't the best way for a lot of people, but they did it the best way they could. And I'm not trying to side on anything. I'm just saying that when we go through suffering, and when I was at my most lowest points in life, that's when I was able to extend grace for other people too. Once I realized who I was and what I was going through and how I'm not everything that people have said I am. I'm not stupid. I'm not mean and evil. I'm not hatred. I don't do things out of malice and to be malicious. I'm not these things that people have labeled me to be. And the suffering that I have gone through that wasn't of my control, I don't have to accept that as a part of who I am in terms of making myself a victim or using it to just stay in a position of not dealing with my own trauma. Because when we go through trauma and we deal with things that are traumatic, sometimes we we allow it to cripple us, and we use it now because we're so used to it as a way of, I went through something that was harmful and hurtful for me. So now I feel like I can go out and do these things without any consequence. And I can go back to, well, this happened to me and this is why I get to act the way I acted. First of all, anything that you've gone through that was traumatic, I hate that we have gone through this. I hate that people have to go through this on a daily basis. It is truly saddening, okay? It is so sad. But what we can't do is allow our trauma and our experiences in life to harm other people and let that be a reason why we get to do what we get to do. Because if you think about it, you're causing the same cycle that has been put into you. Somebody got hurt and they hurt you, and now you're hurting another person. And when does that cycle end? When do we say this is not okay anymore, and that we're not going to stand for people being hurt over and over and over again, when we can decide to handle our own issues and move about it in a healthy way? When are we going to decide that? So that's why I talked about that character specifically, because I found myself relating to a lot of people recently. A lot of people who I didn't even think I could even relate to. We don't have the same goals in life. We don't agree on the same things. But I found myself at my lowest points having grace. And when I talked about in my title, detachment, I'm still working on my detachment. I've just started understanding my spirituality, my religion, myself more. Like, why do I just allow things that have been taught to me to just be the only thing I ever believed? Like, why is that there? Like, who said that that was the only way to live? You know, like, these are the questions that we have to ask ourselves. We can't just allow things to just be, because sometimes we don't realize the impact that we have by just believing what everybody said when you're a child or whatever. Oh, I was told this when I was younger, and I've never thought about anything else. It never crossed my mind that the world could be different than what was said before. And it's constantly changing. We can't expect what somebody told us 5 years ago, even a month ago, to relate to our current life. The world is not just staying still while you grow up. It is growing and changing ever so slightly. Sometimes you can see the biggest impact, but those things have been moving. It's not like it just happened overnight. It didn't just happen overnight. You're just now seeing it because it came into your point of, okay, well, now this is in my face. But when it has happened, it's been happening. Life is a direct reflection of our own relationships with ourselves. We sit here and say, well, why did I blow up? Why am I so angry? You've been dealing with these emotions for a long time. And now somebody knocking your pencil off your desk is the reason why you are so angry. It's not. Something happened to you. Somebody called you stupid 2 days ago, and it's still been bothering you because you're not stupid. Think about it. And when I talked about detachment, I created a post on my story, and I talked about how I've come to an agreement with myself and the universe and the world that I'm okay with being misunderstood. I understand that the path that I'm moving and going on, it's going to be a lonely one. I've already known that for quite some time, but I always find myself running away from it like it's a bad thing to decide to go on a path that a lot of people aren't going. I'm not like you or them, and you're not like them or anybody else. And I am so tired of being afraid of my potential and what I can accomplish. I don't mind people not understanding me as long as I understand myself and why am I doing the things that I'm doing. And this is why I was so happy to do this podcast episode because it is me claiming a lot of who I was before and standing on who I am right now. I used to be such a people pleaser. I used to do everything just for the acceptance of it all, so that people could like me. So much so that I allowed people to hurt me, to say mean things about me. And they're just joking. It's just a joke. They're just playing. I allowed that because I wanted to matter. I wanted to matter. I feel like it was already hard because even when I was younger, I know a lot of people can relate to this too, but I didn't fit in really. I had to mold myself into a way to where I could accommodate a lot of people and make friends with everybody. If I couldn't fit in here, I could fit in there. And if I couldn't fit in there, I could always go back to the who I could fit in. So I just continued through that lifestyle of wanting approval. And I'm thinking about what happened to me recently and how I kept looking for somebody to save me. I kept looking for somebody to fight for me, to stand for me when I couldn't stand for myself and I couldn't handle it in the way that should be handled. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and get into it. There was a situation that happened before, and I'm a type of person to, if you tell me that I'm doing something that is harmful to you, I'm not going to do it anymore around you. I'm going to try my best to not do it at all anymore because I feel like a lot of things, they don't really, when I say they don't really matter, me saying you're stupid isn't enough for me to have a visceral reaction to you asking me to not say it anymore. Does that make sense? But it's the intention behind why are you asking me to not say you're stupid? Does that make sense? And this is not what the example was. I'm just letting you know that this is how we should be as human beings. If I come up to you and say, hey, I'm well aware that this is my own trauma, my own hurt, but could you please not say you're stupid or you're dumb around me? Because it really hurts me. And I know it's not your trauma. I know what you're going through. You may not be directly affected by it as much as I am, but it matters to me. It matters to me. And once somebody told me that, once somebody said, hey, what you're doing, it's harmful, it hurts me, I'm going to try my best to stop at all. I'm not going to wait to say, hey, I'm just not going to do it around you. I'm going to take it a step further because I care about how you should feel, anybody. I don't want to feel like I'm around somebody and I got to watch and, they might say something crazy that might, set me back in my, in a place of where I'm trying to heal from. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be a space where people have to run from me. That's what a lot of people are allowing to happen. We're allowing spaces to not feel safe anymore. We can't have honest conversations because people are afraid that you're going to say something that is quite offensive. And you may not see the power in that. You may not understand, why is this so offensive? Have you bothered to ask? I mean, truly ask. When have you ever said, hey, why does this bother people so much? Did you ever truly try to understand it? I mean, really ask yourself that. Not the little question that you put in your head of, well, I don't see why it's a big deal. We're not asking you, why do you not see it as a big deal? Why do other people see it as a big deal? Why is you saying the N word so important? Why is it so important that you have to say it? Truly. And let's not get into the conversation of, well, a white person saying it is way worse than a Hispanic person or, people of color who are not black people. Why is it okay that they can say it? They're not white. Somebody joked with me recently that he's more black than me. He's more black than me. What? When I come to you, and this is really what makes me a little hesitant to have spaces of conversations with people that I don't want to anymore, because when I do bring up a conversation and I present a space that should be safe, you start the conversation off with something that is quite hurtful. Well, he's more black than you. Let's go. Okay. No matter what I do, no matter who you are, you can be Candace Owens, okay? Respectfully. You could never take away their blackness. No matter what. No matter what they say, no matter what they do, you cannot take away their blackness. And black people are not impervious to social media or the system destroying you, okay? You could be in the highest position and the next day you could be gone. You're not impervious. Hell, at this point, nobody is. But this is the reason why I have to stand so firmly in what I believe now. I can't go back. I won't go back. This is who I am. And I look to people who I inspire to be like, who they just do so much for the world. Amanda Seales. I can't count how many times I've seen people attacking her character, her reasoning, her will, and they haven't done a lick of research truly on her. They're just speaking, and they see people advocating for the right things. And this is why a while ago, I had to talk about it. Exposure. We always talking about how, why is this person talking about this? And before, I was with the people before, I was like, okay, well, why are we talking about these conversations? I don't see the importance in them. We're having, the environment is okay. Everything's all right. People laughing, people smiling, and here you go. Well, 23 people got killed here. And you're literally sleeping, you're laying your head down where people have been murdered and their bodies buried. And you're just living there. And you're like, well, what the fuck? Why would you even say that? Why would that even be part of a conversation? Why would you bring that up? Why would you make this environment? And this is the difference, okay? The environment was never safe to begin with. So before, when I was talking about, going into an environment and then, making it unsafe, that's two different things. The environment was never safe. It had the illusion of safety, the illusion of everything was okay, but it wasn't. It wasn't okay. She has been a pillar that has stood tall in the face of adversity against people who would want to silence us, who would want to control us. I'm no longer interested in what you think my blackness relates to somebody else and they're more black than me. Nobody could ever take away all that I've done, all of who I am. Nobody. Not a soul. I've come so far. You've come so far. We've created so much. Just by being alive, we've created so much. But even your creation, other people's creation, there needs to be a sense of, willingness to let it go, to release it. Before, I would look at my social media, and I'm always constantly looking at my social media and understanding myself better. And because I'm a content creator, so I'm always like, okay, well, how did this do? And what did that do? And I'm constantly checking it. And I was looking at my social media, and I'm sitting on this couch, and I'm like, I'm so tired of sitting on this couch talking about these podcast episodes, talking about these discussions. And I look at my feed, and it's the same thing over and over and over. Not the same thing in the sense of what I'm talking about, but the climate of the content was the same. And I said, I need to switch it up. I'm not just a podcaster. I'm first Marqes, but I'm not just a podcaster. I can do this and I can do that. All moving and branching into being a better person and helping other people. This is not just my life. And I need to release the fact that tomorrow I could decide that I don't want to do podcasts anymore. It's not something that is truly calling me. I could be doing something that could be more impactful with my time. If that happened tomorrow, then that happened. I'm willing to let it go, to allow more blessings to come in. I'm okay. I'm willing to let that happen. Before, I'm like, I have to do podcasts. I have to this is all I'm going to do. I'm just going to be a podcaster. No, I am so much more. And I don't know the last thing or what I would want to do tomorrow. It could be something totally different. I could never have thought about it until that moment. But I'm going to pursue whatever is going to help me in the world. I just feel like this is really, really important. This conversation, the climate that we're in right now, the conversation of exposure. There's a lot of things that it makes it feel like humanity is hopeless. But social media has its days where it's quite harmful, and then there's days where it's beneficial. One thing that I can say about the benefits is that it exposes a lot, exposes the truth. We can't hide behind lies anymore. And I'm glad that we're in a space and a season and seasons of exposure where we can bring these things up. And you can't, it's harder to come up with lies and delusions about why this is going on and why this is happening, because now we can just see it. Now we can just look at it and be like, well, you can't deny that this happened. It's right in front of you. I've always been a person who I expose a little too much sometimes, but I've always looked for the truth. I guess a part of me always wanted to understand myself better. So I tried to find it in the world, but I never could. And I look back at my life and everything that has happened to me, and a part of me is like, how did I go through it all? How did you go through it all? And everybody has a different opinion about you. So many people have so much to say about you. But as I lived and as I realized how important it was that I could be me and be happy, I stopped caring. Create environments that are safe. And it's not, of course, make sure it's safe for you, but make sure it's safe for other people. There's not enough safe environments. I mean, I want to look across the room and I want to see, oh, there's a safe environment right there. I could go over there and I could be okay. Be willing to release everything that you've been taught if it's wrong. Be willing to. Be willing to learn and educate yourself. Be willing to stand for something that is not just your own. For your own self-preservation, be willing to stand for something greater. Don't be afraid to be yourself. Don't be afraid to extend your creativity. You don't have to just be a YouTuber or a podcaster. You can do so many more things. So there's so much that you can do, and there's so many people that you can connect with. You just got to be willing to go out there. Be brave enough to go out there and just look around. So we're coming to the conclusion of this podcast, but I just want it to be known that I'm not allowing the world to change who I am inside. There was this quote, and I can't say it exactly right, but I'm like the ocean. The waves are constantly changing. The moon, the wind, whatever the fuck moves the ocean, okay? But regardless, I will remain the ocean. I will remain the same. I will constantly change, but deep down, I will always be the same. Someone who cares about people and someone who is willing to fight, to stand for something that I believe in, no matter who stands against me, no matter what stands against me. I will continue to fight for justice and for the sake of humanity. I no longer am concerned with the opinions and the physical. I'm no longer concerned. I won't allow your words and your actions to harm me. I will simply continue helping people. And I'm going to go a step further and ask for your healing. Ask for grace. For when you go through something that is difficult, somebody can extend their hand for you and help you up. This isn't just a me world. It's us. It's we. Okay. On a lighter note, I am thankful for everything I've received. I'm grateful. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I have to create a lot of episodes. I'm getting closer and closer to leaving South Korea. This has been something that is, I never thought I would ever experience anything that I've experienced in South Korea ever. I thought what I went through in the States was crazy. I've lived a life that I done lived. Okay. I done lived. I've learned. So, like I say at the end of every podcast episode, I give thanks to the utmost, to the highest power, God. And I might have to find something else to say. It's not that I don't believe in God anymore. It's just that I don't believe in it the way that I did before. And if anything, my relationship with God has gotten even stronger. And it's no longer tethered to what I was told to when I was younger. But I'm truly, truly grateful for my friends and my family. This is NTheRealestWay Podcast. Out.